Hello, I am Rue, and this is Rue with the Books. I hope you have your beverage of choice handy for this video, as I am about to talk about an incredible literary fiction title, Utopia Avenue by David Mitchell. This bad boy. But before I get into all of that, please click the like button down below and subscribe if you haven't already. It would mean the world to me. So, Utopia Avenue is a book that follows the journey of a four-piece jazz slash blues slash folk fusion band. It follows the circumstances that lead to their formation, the rocky road to getting any publicity and starting to go viral, touring, the way that life acts as a roller coaster along the way. It covers many themes such as love, corruption, the cutthroat den of sharks nature of the music industry, the rock and roll lifestyle, and the relentless nature of life, as well as mental illness. This book is not short by any means. I have heard that Cloud Atlas, which is another book by David Mitchell, is a very dense and challenging read. So, if that makes you nervous and you do want to get in and read a little bit of David Mitchell, I think this book is a great starting point because it's pretty clear and, for the most part, easy to follow. The only thing that I found to be a bit challenging in this book was the timeline, as it's quite choppy and jumps around in moments in time. But it's done in a very masterful way that sets things up to pack so much more punch as stuff is revealed. As a lot of literary fiction titles, this book is more of a kind of like slice of life format where we see these characters live out their lives, navigate throughout life and whatever happens in the real world, the consequences of those scenarios. The characters' roads are quite bumpy, but that does make things all the more interesting. So, time to talk about the characters. There are a lot of characters in this book. To start, we have the band members, which I will talk about shortly. We have Levon, the manager. We have the record label executives, cameos of other rock stars and celebrities, as well as just friends and family of our tight knit cast. The characters are written with extreme depth. Just the band itself, while being good friends, they do have their differences and they have arguments and disagreements, just as most bands probably do. We get to see exactly what the points of tension can be within the music making process. So the first character I want to talk about is Dean. He is the first POV we get in this book, so I'll start with him. He is the bassist of Utopia Avenue. His name's Dean Moss, by the way, and he also does vocals for songs which he writes. At the start of the book, he's pretty much at rock bottom. I don't think things could get any worse, if I'm being honest. He was robbed of all of his money, evicted from his home by his landlord. The only thing that he has, his only worldly possession really at that time, is his instrument, his bass guitar. And even then, ownership of it is really up to question, as he got it on a payment plan, and so he was paying it off over time. He has a brief lapse of life-changing luck when scouted by Levon, the manager, as the rest of the band is found and added to the roster pretty soon after their meeting. Dean tries to find a couch to sleep on with one of the other band members offering. This comfort allows him to focus his effort on music. Introductions aside, Dean's character explores rocky family dynamics, childhood trauma, and the drive to prove himself to someone important in his life that didn't believe he could make it in the music industry. He's the member of the band that's most in tune with the rock and roll lifestyle, taking any opportunity he gets to get up to debauchery and drug consumption. We do see him considering his family dynamics, trying to learn through his mistakes in the book and grow as a person. The next character I'd like to talk about is Jasper de Zoot. He is one of the most interesting character stories within this book, 100%. He is neurodiverse and also an illegitimate child of an absurdly wealthy family. He has been, for the most part, set aside by his parents due to his illegitimacy. He doesn't spend most of his childhood with his family, instead joining on at a boarding school. Um, he doesn't dwell too much on his lack of a committed family. Um, his main issue and the most of his backstory is to do with mental illness. At the start of the book, he seemingly has it all together when he meets the band and they start, you know, becoming friends and making music and everything. Um, Although he is a bit strange and other people in the band do notice this, that is mainly due to the fact that he's not neurotypical. And I'm not saying that in a negative way either, that's just the way people see him in the book. But he is an absolute virtuoso of a guitarist. He's absolutely insane. Even being compared to some of the greats in the real world like Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix. He also does vocals on songs he writes. However, there are lapses throughout, lapses of his mental health kind of plummeting throughout the book, and we do learn more about the nature of this mental illness. I don't want to spoil it because this storyline is so goddamn good, but the climax of this sub story was absolutely superb. It was just incredible. It was incredibly emotional and just genuinely mind bending. If the book was just about Jasper, this storyline alone, I think, could have carried the book. And just looking at the back of the book, because there is other works written by David Mitchell mentioned in this, there's a book he's written called The Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet, which is like one of his ancestors. So that could be an interesting read as well. The next member of the band is Elf, or Elizabeth Frances Holloway for short. The Elf comes from the L in Elizabeth and the F in Frances. Merge them together and you get Elf. She is the keyboardist of the band. She also does vocals for songs that she writes, pretty much like most of the band. Her background is with folk music, and she was in an act called Holloway and Fletcher, which was a folk duo. And she joins the band after this duo act splits due to her splitting up with her ex-boyfriend. She's a pretty serious character and a bit of a rock and anchor for the band. If stuff tends to go wrong in like live performances, for example, she's able to adapt and help overcome these situations quickly and make it look like absolutely nothing wrong happened and it was just a flawless performance. Her story is largely to do with family, sexism, sexuality, queerness, expectation, as well as betrayal by someone very important in her life. A lot of executives and the likes wouldn't have expected Elf to be able to play an instrument due to sexist views at the time, as well as, I guess, the music industry being very male-dominated. But she proves them wrong in one hell of a way. If Jasper is an absolute virtuoso with the guitar, then she's a killer keyboardist. There's a lot of moments, like very tender moments, in which she helps her family by performing with the keyboard, and it's just so beautiful. She struggles with expectations to be straight, but throughout the book, she discovers herself true and I guess comes out and realizes it's okay. And she finds the person she truly loves and lets love blossom despite the fact that there were and still are prejudices against queerness. She forms very tight-knit relationships with the rest of the band and is almost kind of like a mother figure within, like, caring for everyone within the band when stuff happens to them, like Dean, Griff, Jasper, you know. Next up, we have Griff. Griff, like drummers in real life, gets considerably less attention than the rest of the band members. He doesn't really write songs or have a long flowing storyline throughout the book like all the others, and neither does he participate too heavily in like the rock and roll lifestyle. He's the backbone of the band. throwing together some rapid drum fills, and the likes. And when the time calls for it, he's the northerner of the band. When he talks, lines are written in a northern accent. So the fooks and all that. That may be annoying for some, but personally, I don't mind it. It's quite nice to read in a northern accent, I guess, for me. Um, he's funny a lot of the time. He's kind of like the band's Joker, really, and overall a solid geezer. He does have his own trauma that he deals with in the story, and he has a bit of a phoenix moment where he rises from the ashes, and you really root for him, and that was an amazing moment. Really, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, solid bloke, really. So the final member to talk, or the final major character to talk about, he's not a band member, but he is their manager, and that's Levon. So he's openly queer, which was a little bit worse from a social point of view at the time, with prejudices against homosexuality being worse at the time. Despite his sexuality, he still garners a lot of respect from record label executives in the band because he's just so damn good. The band don't really care, to be honest. They're not too fussed. He knows how to get the band the right attention at all stages of their popularity. So all the way from being a little-known local band, all the way to an arena-selling supergroup, and how to keep pushing their growth. Despite the negative reputation band members get, or managers get, he is a good egg. He doesn't screw over the band financially and bleed them dry. When certain legal issues present themselves in the book, he doesn't run away, and there's a pretty major one. It's not like a scandal, but it is something pretty messed up that happens to one of the characters, just saying. He doesn't run away, he sticks with them, and he uses his connections to help the group come out bigger, better, and stronger on the other side of those issues. Levon is like the whole reason Utopia Avenue ended up forming, and it's like his baby. He looks after it and nurtures it. He does a thankless job, and he does it absolutely superbly, and that is something that he does think about quite a bit. There are a lot of other minor characters in this book. For example, Jimi Hendrix, Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones, John Lennon of the Beatles, Syd Barrett of Pink Floyd all appear in this book, and it kind of just shows the apart from it being fun to read about these famous people, it does also show kind of the time period in which this fictitious band was popular. And if you like that kind of thing, I think you'll enjoy their cameos. As well as famous musicians, there are also some celebrities that appear in the book too. So yeah, it's a lot to enjoy. The characters. So the next section I get to talk about in this review is the music, which is a bit of a switch up from normal because I'm so used to talking about like world building. So it's nice to skip that and get to talk about something different, which is the music in the book. And it's a pretty important part. So Utopia Avenue being a book about the life of a musician, it holds no punches when it comes to writing about the way that music is created, how it grows and evolves, how it gets a reaction of audiences, and how it lets humans connect in such a unique, powerful way. There's really nothing like it. It's heartwarming when the characters write music together. Usually the songs start with the lyrics. One of the band members will write about something close to home that they need to get off their chest. And essentially with each kind of like chapter / part being one of the albums within the song, one of the albums that the band wrote, each chapter is essentially how one of the songs in the album gets written. So you get to experience these very personal situations for each of the band members, really see what goes on in their life and what causes them to write these songs. And once the lyrics have been written, the band comes together and fills in the blanks around the vocals. They put their souls into translating the vibe of the lyrics into heartfelt instrumentals. When it comes to playing the songs to an audience, the audience gets to feel the emotions of whoever wrote the lyrics. It's incredibly powerful. When it comes to playing live, the band have such an electric chemistry. The songs tend to evolve as they're played live, adding new riffs, solos, fills, sometimes even altering verses to get reactions out of the audience. It's genuinely addictive to read about them playing live, and it gives the reader a little bit of respite from the real serious life stuff that takes up most of the book, and it's very refreshing. I like. I don't think that kind of thing happens in a lot of books, so it's a bit different, and it is nice to just chill out sometimes. I think that cozy feeling is really growing and prospering within people at the moment. I think. So, to conclude, Utopia Avenue is an incredible book which follows the life experiences of several people, seeing them form a band, grow successful, and translate those difficult life experiences into powerful music that resonates with a lot of people. The characters have tremendous depth, and they certainly go through a lot in this book. Life did not hold back its punches on them. This book, while being easy to read and digest, conveys a lot of themes to the reader and gives the general consensus view on certain topics at the times, for the time that the book is set in. I enjoyed every moment of this book, all of the characters, the way music and musicianship is conveyed throughout the book. This book, like music, is very powerful for the right person. With everything I talked about and just how I gushed over it, I think it's absolutely wrong to give it anything less than 5 stars. So there you go. That's my verdict. I guess it's a pretty. It's been a good reading week or two for me, because that's 2 5 stars in a row, with one of the many being my last video. Um, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've read this book, let me know if you enjoyed it. If you haven't read this book, have I convinced you to go and put it on your TBR? As always, let me know down in the comments below what you're currently reading. I would love to hear from you and find out. Thanks everyone. Root out.